On Christmas Eve, I invited my 3 children over for dinner. I waited until the food went cold. No one came. Then I saw the family group chat. They were mocking me. Old man's unbearable. Nobody wants to spend Christmas with him. My heart turned colder than that Christmas night. Right then, I decided I had to teach them a lesson. So, I opened my laptop and did something I'd never done before. The next morning, they woke up screaming when they discovered what I had done the night before. I appreciate you taking the time to hear my story. Before we continue to that cold kitchen on Christmas Eve, let me know in the comments, where are you right now and what time is it? Another Christmas is coming. To everyone following this story, I wish you warmth, love, and the presence of people who truly value you. What I'm about to share happened last Christmas, a night that changed everything. I thought I knew about family. Let me tell you my story. It was 7 o'clock on Christmas Eve in Seattle. My kitchen smelled like roasted turkey and cinnamon. The table was set for 9, including 2 small chairs I'd bought just for Parker and Ella, my grandchildren. I was alone, but I wasn't lonely. There's a difference. At 59, I'd rebuilt a life after my wife Sarah passed 6 years ago. I taught cooking classes on Thursdays, wrote a food blog that actually had followers, and I played chess with Howard every Tuesday. I had friends. I had purpose. I wasn't some desperate old man waiting by the window for children who never came. Tonight was supposed to be different, though. 2 weeks ago, I'd invited everyone to dinner. My 3 children, Warren, 34, with his wife, Stella, and their 2 kids, Bryce, 31, and Blair, 27. The family together like we used to be. Their responses in our group chat had been brief. Warren wrote, "Maybe." Bryce sent a thumbs up emoji. Blair didn't even open the message for 3 days. I'd chosen to hope anyway, so I'd spent 3 days preparing. The turkey had been brining since Monday. I'd made Sarah's cranberry sauce with orange zest and bourbon, Yukon Gold mashed potatoes, green bean casserole, and pumpkin pie with a crust so flaky it could make you weep. Everything had to be perfect. Bing Crosby sang White Christmas from my old radio. Through the window, I could see my neighbor's kids building a snowman in the cold Seattle rain. The turkey rested golden and perfect on Sarah's grandmother's platter, the one we only used for special occasions, at 7:30. I wiped my hands on my apron and checked my phone just to see if they were running late. Traffic on I-5 could be terrible. On Christmas Eve, the screen showed new messages in the Marshall family chat. My heart jumped. Blair had written, "Seriously, do we have to go? Old man's unbearable. Nobody wants to spend Christmas with him." Warren replied, "I told Stella we'd be at her parents' place. She'll kill me if I bail." Bryce added, "He'll guilt trip us anyway. Let him eat alone." The laughing emoji. My youngest son had added a laughing emoji. I read it once, twice, 3 times, as if repetition might rearrange the words into something less cruel. My thumb hovered over the screen, ready to type, "Wrong chat, kids, I can see this," but I didn't. I set the phone down slowly. My hands were steady. That surprised me. When Sarah died, I'd collapsed in that hospital hallway, unable to breathe. This felt different, colder, cleaner, like a blade sliding between ribs, so sharp you don't feel it. At first, I looked at the dining room. 9 place settings, candles waiting to be lit, the good china. Those two small chairs, positioned carefully so Parker and Ella could reach the table. All of it prepared for people who'd been laughing about letting me eat alone. "I'll be home for Christmas" started playing on the radio, and the irony nearly broke me. Instead, I walked to my desk and opened my laptop. The screen glowed blue in the dimming light. If my children thought this was the end, if they thought they could discard me like yesterday's leftovers and face no consequences, they had no idea what was about to begin. I opened my laptop and made a decision that would change everything. Some people break down when betrayed. I set up a camera. My laptop glowed, cursor blinking. I could have confronted them in that group chat, typed, "Wrong chat. Kids, I can see this." But what would that accomplish? Embarrassed apologies, half-hearted excuses. No, I was done with half-hearted. My anger wasn't hot or loud. It was cold, focused. Sitting in my quiet kitchen, I realized this disrespect wasn't new. It had been building for years. I just kept making excuses. Warren, my eldest, borrowed $50,000 3 years ago for an investment opportunity. Never paid back a cent. Now, he only called when he needed me to babysit Parker and Ella. I'd drop everything, feed them dinner, tuck them in. He'd pick them up, hours late, mumble thanks, and disappear for months. Bryce took $20,000 2 years ago for a real estate scheme. Lost it all. Somehow that became my fault. "You should have warned me. It was risky, Dad." He was 31. When did I become responsible for his bad decisions? Then there was Blair, 27, my youngest, polished, perfect. Her social media life curated to the last detail. I found out last year she'd stopped inviting me to her events. Her friend had asked casually, "Oh, you weren't there?" No, a retired chef in an apron didn't fit Blair's aesthetic. I wasn't Instagram worthy. I'd made excuses for all of them. They're busy. They're building lives. They don't mean it. But that text, "Old man's unbearable," and that laughing emoji, that was intentional. That was cruel. I scrolled through my contacts until I found Jordan Hayes, the 23-year-old Texavie, son of my chess buddy, Howard. I'd helped him out last year when he lost his job. Let him stay in my guest room rent-free. He answered on the second ring, "Mr. Marshall." "Jordan, I need your help tonight." Pause. "Is everything okay? Can you come over? I need someone who understands cameras and live streaming." Another pause. "Yeah, 20 minutes. He arrived at 8:30, concerned. I was still in my apron, the dining room table perfectly set behind me. "Mr. Marshall, what's going on? I need you to set up a camera. I'm going to eat Christmas dinner alone, and I want people to see it." His eyes widened, like, ... live stream it. "Exactly. Your kids didn't show," he whispered. He didn't ask more. Maybe he saw something in my face that told him not to. Instead, he unpacked his phone and a small ring light from his car. He positioned everything carefully, the shot framed, to show me the full table, the empty chairs, and those 2 small seats for Parker and Ella. "Which platform?" he asked. "Whichever reaches the most people." He nodded. "Social media, then. What's the title?" I thought for a second. "Eating Christmas Dinner Alone, a Father's Story." Jordan's jaw tightened. He typed it in. "Going live in 3:2:1. The red dot appeared. I sat at the head of the table, surrounded by 9 empty place settings. The turkey steamed, candles flickered, and I began to speak, my voice steady. Good evening. My name is Bruno Marshall. I'm 59 years old. Tonight is Christmas Eve, and I prepared this meal for my family, my 3 children, my daughter, and my 2 grandchildren. I gestured to the empty chairs. But as you can see, I'm eating alone. I didn't rant. I didn't cry. I carved the turkey, served myself, and told the truth about the years of sacrifice, the money never repaid, the grandchildren I rarely saw, the message I'd read tonight. Jordan watched silently, his expression hardening in the corner of his screen. The viewer count began to climb. Within 30 minutes, 5,000 people were watching. By midnight, it was 2 million. Let me tell you what happened when my kids saw the video. Christmas morning, I didn't plan to go viral. I planned to eat dinner. The internet had other plans. Christmas morning, I woke to a sound I hadn't heard in years. My phone buzzing non-stop like an angry swarm. I reached for it, squinting at the screen. Notifications poured in faster than I could read. Messages, emails, comments, thousands of them. The video from last night, the one Jordan had streamed, had 5 million views. 5 million. I sat up, fully awake. My quiet Christmas dinner had become something else, entirely something massive. The comments scrolled endlessly. Most were kind, furious on my behalf. This broke my heart. Those kids should be ashamed. Calling my mom right now. Others tagged news outlets, and they'd responded. Headlines already filled my feed. Elderly father eats Christmas alone after children mock him. Chef's lonely dinner goes viral. I remembered what I'd said during that live stream. Jordan's camera had captured everything. The full table, the empty chairs, my calm voice. My 3 children were supposed to be here tonight. They chose not to come. But I'm grateful for this meal, for my life, and for those who still value family. Simple words, honest words. Apparently, they'd struck a nerve. But the internet didn't stop at sympathy. It became an investigation. Someone recognized my last name, found Warren's LinkedIn. From there, Bryce's real estate site, Blair's social media. Screenshots spread like wildfire. These are the ungrateful children. Imagine treating your father like this. Then I saw a screenshot of our family group chat. The text from Christmas Eve. Old man's unbearable. Nobody wants to spend Christmas with him. That laughing emoji. Public now. Jordan. He must have shared it accidentally. I was sure he'd say, but there it was. Proof this wasn't fiction. It was cruelty documented. My phone rang. Howard, Bruno, have you seen? I've seen it. Meet us at Fletcher's Coffee in an hour. You shouldn't be alone. At 10 o'clock, I walked into Fletcher's. Howard was there with Norman and Beatrice. They stood when I entered. Bruno. Beatrice hugged me tightly. Everyone's seen it. We sat. Norman slid a coffee toward me. You did the right thing, he said, showing people what was happening. I didn't plan to, I admitted. I just wanted someone to witness it, to see I wasn't crazy for feeling hurt. 5 million people witnessed it, Howard said. And they're all on your side. Your kids, though, Beatrice sighed. Their phones must be exploding. People are furious. I should have felt guilty. I didn't. I felt something colder, quiet justice. They deserve it, Norman said. They mocked you publicly. Now the public's responding. We talked for an hour. They told me about comments they'd read, stories of others who'd reconnected with parents after watching. As we stood to leave, my phone rang again. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but answered. Mr. Marshall, this is Malcolm Sterling, attorney here in Seattle. I'm not suing anyone, I said. That's not why I'm calling, he replied evenly. I've been following your story. We need to discuss your estate, protecting your assets. Protecting them from what? From people who might suddenly want to reconcile. People named Warren, Bryce, and Blair Marshall. A cold understanding settled over me. I see. I can meet today or the day after Christmas, he said. Sooner is better. Let me call you back, I said. I need to think. Of course. My number's on your screen. I hung up and watched families hurry past with their gifts. Children holding parents' hands. Everything I'd wanted that morning. Then my phone rang again and again. Warren, Bryce, Blair, back to back, their names flashing like accusations. My children had finally seen the video. My children finally remembered I existed. But it wasn't love that made them call. Christmas afternoon, 1 o'clock. Warren called first. I let it ring 3 times before answering. Hello, Dad. His voice was tense. You need to take down that video, right? Now, it was a live stream, Warren. I can't undo what 5 million people have already seen. 5 million. He made a strangled sound. Do you realize what you've done? People are attacking me online. Stella's parents are furious. My boss called this morning on Christmas. He said the bank can't have employees tied to public scandals. I simply ate dinner, I said calmly, alone on Christmas Eve. You made us look like terrible people. Did I, or did you? Silence. Then, this isn't fair, Dad. You're being vindictive. Vindictive would be posting your messages myself. I didn't. Someone else did. Jordan, he snapped. That kid you let stay with you. He leaked our chat, did he? I wouldn't know. I was busy eating the dinner I'd cooked for 9 people. Warren hung up. 2:00. Bryce called. What the hell is wrong with you? No greeting, just rage. Do you know how many clients I've lost today? 4. Everyone thinks I'm some heartless son who abandoned his father on Christmas. You did abandon me on Christmas. That's not, he exhaled sharply. You're destroying my business, Dad. Over what? A petty grudge. Because we couldn't make dinner. Couldn't or wouldn't. Does it matter? You've made your point. Now fix it. Post something. Say it was a misunderstanding, that we had other plans. I could, I said slowly, but it would be a lie. And I'm done lying for you, Bryce. You're unbelievable, he snapped. Absolutely unbelievable, perhaps, but at least I'm honest. He hung up with a curse. 3 o'clock, Blair Daddy. Her voice was small, trembling, the one she used when she wanted something. Dad, I'm so sorry about the text, about everything. It was just a stupid joke. You know I didn't mean it, right? I love you. Blair, you haven't called me Daddy since you were 12. Don't start now because you're scared. I am scared, Daddy. People are sending me horrible messages. I lost 2 brand deals today. My Instagram's full of hate. Please, you have to fix this. Was it a misunderstanding when you didn't invite me to your gallery opening? When you told your friend I wasn't aesthetic enough for your life? A sharp inhale. How did you? I have ears, Blair. And apparently I'm not as invisible as you thought. Dad, please. The truth's out now. What happens next is up to you. I hung up. The kitchen was quiet again, still faintly smelling of turkey. My phone lay silent. No more desperate calls. They weren't sorry, just scared. scared of judgment, scared of losing what they assumed was theirs. But they'd forgotten something. I was still alive, still capable, still in control. At 7 o'clock, I called Malcolm Sterling. He answered immediately. "Bruno, I was hoping to hear from you." "Malcolm, let's talk about that estate plan. I'm ready to make some changes. I'll prepare the papers. Can you come in December the 27th? I'll be there." When I hung up, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Not anger, not hurt, purpose. And by then, I'd already made 3 decisions that would change my children's lives forever. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. Mine was served with legal documents, December 27th, 2 days after Christmas. Malcolm Sterling's law office sat on the 15th floor of a glass tower downtown, chrome, leather, and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seattle's skyline. I arrived at 10 a.m. with a folder of documents. My will, property deeds, bank statements, everything Malcolm had requested. He greeted me with a firm handshake and, surprisingly, respect. "Bruno, I've been thinking about your situation, and you're making the right choice. Protecting your assets isn't vindictive, it's smart." We sat. He outlined what I could and couldn't do legally, what would hold up if my children challenged it. I listened, but my mind was already made up. "I want to make 3 changes," I said. Malcolm pulled out a legal pad. "Go ahead. First, my will. Warren, Bryce, and Blair get only the legal minimum. The rest goes to charity." "Which charity?" "The Abandoned Parents Foundation. They help estranged parents." He wrote that down, nodding. "Poetic." "Second, trust funds. For my grandchildren, Parker and Ella, $200,000 each. Managed independently until they're 25. Their parents can't touch it." "Smart. Protecting the kids from their parents' judgment. They're innocent. I won't punish them for who raised them." Malcolm looked up. "That's generous, given everything. They're 8 and 5. They didn't choose this. Maybe someday they'll remember their grandfather gave them something real, security." "Third, I'm selling my house. Too big for me. Too many memories I no longer want." He paused. "You realize this means your children inherit almost nothing. The house proceeds will go mostly to charity. They disinherited themselves when they laughed about me eating alone on Christmas." He nodded slowly. "I'll draft everything today. Will need witnesses and notarization. Can you sign on the 29th? "I'll be here." My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but Malcolm gestured for me to answer. ... Could be important. "Hello, Mr. Marshall. This is Carolyn Fletcher, producer with Savoring Life, a cooking and lifestyle network. Saw your video. 20 million people have actually. We'd love to discuss a series." "A series?" I echoed. Asterisk, yes. Cooking and storytelling. Family, real conversations. People connected with your honesty. We think you could help others going through similar things." Malcolm raised an eyebrow, smiling. "I'll need to think about it," I said. "Of course, but Bruno, your story matters." She gave me her contact information. I promised to call within a week. When I hung up, Malcolm chuckled. "A TV show, apparently. Your children are going to lose their minds." "Good," I said, and I meant it. 2 days later, December 29th, I returned to sign my new will, trust documents, and the authorization to sell my house. My signature was steady, my conscience clear. That same afternoon, I called Caroline Fletcher back and said yes. Within a week, I'd signed 2 contracts. One with Malcolm protecting my assets and my grandchildren's future, and one with Caroline giving me a purpose I hadn't expected. My children were about to learn that losing their inheritance was the least of their problems. Karma doesn't need my help, but watching it work was oddly satisfying. Early January, the consequences arrived faster than I expected, delivered not by my hand, but by fate's sense of justice. The first messenger was my neighbor, Barbara Coleman, with her usual coffee and impeccable timing. "Bruno," she said on January 3rd, settling into my kitchen chair like she owned it. "Did you hear Warren was let go from the bank?" I paused mid-pour. "Let go, fired," she corrected, eyes gleaming. "My friend Linda works in HR. She said his boss couldn't keep him after that scandal. Clients threatened to pull their accounts if he stayed. The board was furious." I nodded, silent. Barbara wasn't finished. "Stella's family is livid, too. Her mother called Warren an embarrassment to the family name. Can you imagine?" I could. I didn't say so. 2 days later, January 5th, I ran into Norman at the grocery store. He was loading oranges when he spotted me. "Bruno, been meaning to call you." He lowered his voice. "My nephew's in real estate. Says Bryce's business is crashing. Clients don't want to buy houses from that guy who abandoned his father." His words, not mine. "Bryce lost 3 big deals in a week, and debt collectors are calling. Turns out he's been living on credit. The cars, the suits, all financed, all overdue." I picked up a grapefruit, examined it. "That's unfortunate." Norman studied me. "You don't look surprised." "I'm not. Bryce always spent money he didn't have. I just didn't realize how deep the hole was." January 7th. Howard texted, "Lunch at our usual diner." Over burgers and fries, he delivered the next blow. "Saw something online about Blair," he said. "She lost all her brand partnerships." I looked up all of them. Apparently, companies don't want influencers who mock their fathers on Christmas. Her manager dropped her, too. And double quotes. He hesitated. "She lost her apartment. Couldn't pay rent. She's couch surfing." I sat down my burger. My appetite vanished. "You okay?" Howard asked. "I don't know," I said honestly. Part of me knew this would happen. Part of me hoped it wouldn't. Barbara returned January 10th, bringing the final chapter. "Warren's wife is demanding a divorce," she announced before I could offer coffee. "Apparently, she's been hiding money for years. Separate accounts. He just found out. He's broke, jobless, and about to lose custody. Her lawyers, ruthless." I sat heavily at the table. Barbara finally sensed my silence. "Bruno, you don't seem happy about any of this." "I'm not," I said quietly. "Not happy. Not even satisfied. Just accepting." "Accepting what?" "That I didn't cause this, Barbara. Their choices did. I just stopped protecting them from the consequences." She left soon after. That evening, alone in my apartment, I watched Seattle rain trace the glass. My children's worlds were collapsing. I'd known it might happen. I'd even prepared for it. But I hadn't prepared for how it would feel. Not joy, not revenge, something quieter. A blend of grief and relief. My phone buzzed. One missed call. Caroline Fletcher. While my children's worlds fell apart, mine was just beginning to bloom. Caroline Fletcher had made me an offer I couldn't refuse. At 59, I thought my life was winding down. Turns out it was just getting started. Late January. The studio lights were brighter than I expected, but somehow, standing in front of that camera felt like coming home. "Ready when you are, Bruno," Caroline Fletcher called from behind the monitor, her reading glasses perched on her head. I adjusted my apron, glanced at the ingredients laid out before me: butter, garlic, fresh herbs, a whole chicken, and nodded. "Let's do this." The first episode of Savoring Life with Bruno Marshall was titled "The Christmas Dinner That Changed Everything." I told my story while butterflying that chicken, talking about sacrifice and boundaries and what happens when love becomes one-sided. I made my mother's lemon herb roasted chicken, the same recipe I'd taught my children when they were small. "Food isn't just sustenance," I said to the camera, to the invisible audience beyond it. "It's memory, it's love, and sometimes it's the last conversation you'll ever have with someone." The episode aired on February 1st. 8 million people watched. Caroline called me at midnight, breathless. "Bruno, the network is ecstatic. The phones haven't stopped ringing. People are calling you a hero." "I'm not a hero," I said, sitting in my old kitchen one last time. "I'm just a father who finally chose himself. That's exactly why they love you." Working with Caroline was easy, in a way I hadn't expected. She was 55, divorced 3 years, no children of her own. She understood loss, not the kind I'd experienced, but loss nonetheless. Her ex-husband had chosen his career over their marriage. She'd chosen herself afterward. We worked late hours, editing episodes, testing recipes, debating whether a story was too raw or not raw enough. She laughed at my jokes. I appreciated her directness. There was no pretense between us, no performance, just two people rebuilding their lives. One frame, one conversation, one meal at a time. Mid-February, the house sold, the same house where I'd raised Warren, Bryce, and Blair. The same house where Sarah and I had danced in the kitchen on our 20th anniversary. I didn't cry when I signed the papers. I felt lighter. I bought a 2-bedroom apartment in Fremont. Smaller, modern, with huge windows that let in the Seattle winter light. It was mine. No ghosts, no obligations, just possibility. On February 20th, I threw a housewarming party. Howard brought wine. Norman brought his famous potato salad. Beatrice brought flowers and a fierce hug. 2 new beginnings. Howard toasted, raising his glass in my tiny living room. We ate, we laughed, we told stories. At one point, Norman pulled me aside. "Bruno," he said quietly, "I haven't seen you this alive since before Sarah passed. Not even when she was here. You're free." I looked around my new apartment, at my friends, at the life I'd built from the wreckage of the old one. "Yeah," I said, "I guess I am." They left around 10 o'clock. I cleaned up, poured myself a whiskey, and sat by the window, watching the city lights flicker in the distance. My phone rang. The caller ID read, "Warren, home." I hesitated. My hand hovered over the screen. Then I answered, "Hello, Grandpa." A small voice, young, uncertain. "Parker." My throat tightened. "Yeah, it's me." A pause. "I miss you. Can I come visit you sometime? Just me and Ella. Dad said it's okay if you say yes." I closed my eyes, took a breath. "Of course, buddy," I said softly. "Anytime you want. Really, really. Okay, I'll ask Dad to bring us soon." I love you, Grandpa. I love you too, Parker. He hung up. I sat there, holding the phone, staring at the blank screen, feeling something crack open in my chest. Not my children, not yet, maybe not ever, but their children, the innocent ones, the ones who didn't choose any of this. 2 weeks later, 3 letters arrived at my doorstep, handwritten, unexpected. One from Warren, one from Bryce, one from Blair. My children finally reached out to me again, but what they wrote surprised me more than their silence ever had. Early March, the letters sat on my kitchen counter for 2 days before I opened them. Handwritten envelopes, real stamps, not texts, not emails, letters. I made tea, sat by the window of my new apartment, picked up the first envelope, and slid my thumb under the seal. Warren's letter. Dad, I lost my job. Stella left me and took half of everything. I'm living in a small 2-bedroom apartment with Parker and Ella. Now, for the first time in years, I'm actually being a father, making breakfast, reading bedtime stories, helping with homework. I see now how I treated you, like an ATM, like an obligation. You deserved so much better. I'm in therapy now, not to win you back, but because I need to be better for my kids. They ask about you every day. I tell them Grandpa is busy living his life, because you should be. I'm sorry, Dad, ... Not because I want something, because you deserved to hear it years ago. Warren, I set the letter down, took a breath, and opened the second, Bryce's letter. I've been living a lie. The fancy cars, the expensive dinners, the designer clothes, all debt. I lost everything, and honestly, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. I got a job as a line cook at a small restaurant. Humbling, but honest work. You taught me the value of that when I was young. I forgot. I'm sorry for taking your money and blaming you when I lost it. I'm sorry for treating you like you owed me success. I'm paying back every cent, even if it takes me 20 years. Bryce. I stared at Bryce's handwriting, messy, hurried, like he'd written it in one sitting and mailed it before he could second-guess himself. The third envelope was lighter. I opened it last. Blair's letter. I spent my whole life chasing validation from strangers on the internet. I was ashamed of you because you weren't Instagram worthy. How sick is that? I've deleted all my social media, every account. I'm working at a bookstore now, Powell's on Burnside. I'm learning to value real things, real conversations, real people. I want to learn to value myself, too. And maybe, if you'll let me, learn to value you again. Not because you went viral, but because you're my dad. I'm so sorry it took losing everything to see that, Blair. I folded the letters carefully and set them in a neat stack on the table. I felt relief they finally understood. I felt sadness it had taken this much pain. I felt acceptance my new life was good, with or without their growth. But I also felt something else, something fragile and unexpected. Hope. I didn't respond immediately. Some wounds need time, and some lessons need space. But 3 months later, on a sunny afternoon in May, I picked up my phone and made a call. 6 months after that Christmas dinner, I stood at a different table. This time, I wasn't alone. June, Seattle Community Center. 25 students sat around the kitchen watching me butterfly a chicken breast. Caroline stood beside me, camera rolling for our show. This was my life now. Food isn't just sustenance, I told them, young mothers, veterans. college students, a widower. It's love, it's connection, it's storytelling. I showed them how to season with intention, sear with confidence. Caroline caught it all on camera, glancing at me with that look pride mixed with something warmer. The students loved us. Not just the cooking, but the chemistry. We didn't hide it anymore. After class, we sat in the quiet kitchen, sipping coffee. "Have you decided?" Carolyn asked softly. She meant the letters. I had shown her all three, one evening in April. "Yeah," I said. "I called Warren last week. I'm meeting Parker and Ella next Saturday. Just the kids first." She squeezed my hand. "How do you feel? Ready?" And I was. June 15th, a park near Green Lake. Parker and Ella spotted me from across the grass and sprinted. "Grandpa." They crashed into me, arms tight. Parker had grown 9 now, nearly to my chest. Ella, 6, gap-toothed and grinning. "Dad's different now," Parker said proudly. "He makes pancakes every Sunday, reads to us, even came to my soccer game." "He teaches us how to cook," Ella added. "Like you." My throat tightened. "That's wonderful." Ella's face turned serious. "Are you still mad at Daddy?" I knelt, meeting her eyes. "No, sweetheart, I'm not mad. But things are different now, and that's okay." "Different how?" "In a good way," I said. "We're learning how to love each other better." She nodded, satisfied. Parker tugged me toward the playground. We played for hours, swings, slides, stories. When Warren came to pick them up, we nodded from a distance. He mouthed, "Thank you." I nodded back. I agreed to see my children again, but on my terms, neutral places, once a month, maybe. "You're welcome in my life," I told Warren that night. "But you're no longer the center of it. I have friends, Carolyn, my work, myself. You're part of my life, not all of it." He paused. "I understand, Dad. That's fair." It was. People ask if I forgive my children. Yes, but forgiveness doesn't erase the past. It doesn't make things the same. They broke something precious, and even repaired, you still see the cracks. The cracks remind you to be gentle, to value what's fragile, to never take love for granted again. I don't regret any of it. The live stream, the will, the boundaries. They made my children grow up, and they freed me to finally live. If you're a parent feeling invisible, hear me. Your worth isn't defined by their acknowledgement. Choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's survival. It's not giving up, it's growing up. And it's never too late to start living for you. That evening in my apartment, Caroline arrived with wine and ingredients for pasta carbonara, her recipe this time. We moved together like dancers in rhythm. She chopped pancetta, I whisked eggs. We laughed about a student who'd set off the fire alarm. My phone buzzed. A video from Parker. "Love you, Grandpa." Ella says hi. I smiled, sent a heart emoji, and set it down. I turned back to Caroline, to the meal, to the warmth of her hand brushing mine, to my life, my real life. Finally, some stories end with everyone together. Mine ended with me whole, and that was enough. Looking back on this journey, I realize I waited too long. I spent years hoping my children would see my worth when I should have seen it myself. Don't make my mistake. Don't wait for a breaking point to set boundaries. Don't let a Christmas dinner alone be the moment you finally choose yourself. This grandpa story isn't just mine. It's a lesson I pray reaches every parent who's given everything and received indifference in return. God gave us the capacity to love unconditionally, but He also gave us the wisdom to protect our own hearts. I forgot that second part for too long. The lesson I learned: love your children fiercely, but never lose yourself in the process. Teach them respect, not by demanding it, but by respecting yourself first. God doesn't ask us to be doormats for our families. He asks us to honor ourselves as His creation. When I finally understood that, everything changed. If you're living a version of my story right now, hear this: your value isn't measured by how much your children need you. It's inherent. God knew your worth before they were even born, and that worth doesn't diminish when they forget to call, forget to visit, or forget to say thank you. This true story taught me that boundaries aren't walls, they're bridges to healthier relationships. This story showed me that forgiveness doesn't require reconciliation on their terms. It reminded me that wholeness matters more than togetherness. Don't be invisible in your own life, waiting for permission to matter. These grandpa stories we carry deserve better endings. Write yours before it's too late. And if this story resonated with you, if you've lived something similar or know someone who is, don't keep it to yourself. Leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your story. Share this with a parent who needs to hear it. And if you're new here, subscribe to this channel. More stories like this are coming. True stories about real people finding their way back to themselves. You're not alone, and you're worth choosing. Thank you for listening to this grandpa story. Until next time, take care of yourself first so you can truly care for others.